Our next story is from South Korea, where a disaster has taken place. A plane crash that has left 179 people dead. It's the worst air disaster on South Korean soil. We have visuals of the accident. Take a look at what happened. The crash took place at the Muan International Airport. It's a small airport located in the country's south. The flight was coming in from Thailand, from the capital Bangkok. It was a Jeju Air flight. Jeju Air is one of South Korea's most popular budget airlines. The crash occurred on Sunday morning at about 9:03 a.m. local time. The cause of the accident is still not clear, but a bird strike could have played a key role. Here's a timeline of how it unfolded. Air traffic control gave the flight a go-ahead to land at about 8:54 a.m. 3 minutes later, at 8:57, air traffic control issued a warning about bird activity in the area. 2 minutes after that, at 8:59 a.m., one of Jeju Air pilots reported hitting a bird. The pilots issued a distress call, calling out Mayday, and aborted the original landing path. The pilots then requested permission to land from the opposite direction. They made a 180-degree turn mid-air and then landed on the runway. Now look at the video again. You will notice a few things. The plane made it to the runway after making the U-turn, but look at where it landed. Not at the beginning of the runway, which is about 2.8 kilometers long. The plane landed approximately halfway on the runway. Next, we can see that the landing gear did not deploy. The plane is skidding along the runway on its engine. The wheels did not come out. It's hard to make out from the video, but it seems that the wing flaps did not deploy either. So the plane was coming in at full speed, nothing to slow it down, and it landed halfway onto the runway. The plane skid for about 1,600 meters before it crashed into a concrete wall. That is where it erupted into flames. There were 181 people on board the flight, 175 passengers, 6 crew members. Only 2 survived. 2 crew members survived the crash. They were seated near the tail section of the plane. A total of 179 people perished in the tragedy.
When I saw the accident video, it seemed like out of control when the plane entered the airport. The pilots probably had no choice but to do it. My daughter, who is only in her mid-40s, ended up like this. This is unbelievable.
It's my brother. He went with his 17 former colleagues from Jeollanam-do workplace. Now my nephew has gone and it's been over 2 hours and he hasn't seen me.
South Korea is reeling from the tragedy. A memorial has been set up for the victims. A 7-day national mourning period has been declared. New Year's Day celebrations will either be cancelled or muted. But amid the sorrow, there is anger too. The families of the victims are still waiting for their remains. Emergency crews are still trying to identify the bodies. They're still sifting through the wreckage. You saw the crash, how the plane rammed into a concrete wall at full speed. This has caused anger too. Why was a concrete structure there in the first place? It was located about 250 meters away from the runway. Experts say that some more lives may have been saved if it hadn't been there. The airline is facing scrutiny as well. The Jeju airplane was extremely busy prior to the crash. It flew 13 times in the 48 hours preceding the accident. This has raised concerns about excessive usage. And of course, there's a mystery of the landing gear. Why did it not deploy? Was it human error or something wrong with the plane? We'll have to wait a while for these answers to come. The plane's 2 black boxes, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, have both been recovered. But the flight data recorder is damaged. It will take at least a month to decipher, and if the damage is extensive, it could take longer. So we'll have to wait to find out the reason for this crash. South Koreans have been shaken by the tragedy. Tens of thousands of flight bookings were cancelled yesterday. This was in the hours following the crash. South Koreans are scared. They're concerned about air safety. The last time a tragedy like this took place was back in 1997, 27 years ago. Back then, A Korean air flight crashed in the US territory of Guam. 229 people had died in that crash. It was a wake-up call. South Korea overhauled its air safety procedures. The country is now considered one of the safest when it comes to air travel. But Sunday's crash has tarnished that track record. Let's see who or what is to blame and how South Korea recovers from this.